Hi everyone. Today we are going to talk about scope. Global scope just means that you are assigning a variable that you can use anywhere in your program. It's not defined inside of a function or it's not defined inside of a class or anything like that. It's just here in the main body. So as you can see, here I have a single line of a program. I've assigned the object the label message, and the value is a string hello from the global scope. Now, this is kind of a silly example because we created a custom function that just calls print, so we could have just used print, but I want to make a point. Once I'm inside the body of this function, then I'm in the local scope of the message printer function. I can use any of my global variables inside of the local scope. So here I'm using the print function call and I'm trying to print the message, which is from the global scope. And so when I call the function down here on message printer, then you see it prints out the string no problem, hello from the global scope. So essentially what Python is doing is it first looks inside of the scope of the message printer function. It doesn't see this object message assigned anywhere, so it comes up to the global scope. It sees it there and it prints it out. So let's look at defining an object inside of the local scope. So here we have the message printer function. This time message is assigned or created, or sometimes we use the word defined inside of the function. So now message is what's called a local variable. This means that we can only use message inside of the message printer function. So I run this and you can see here, hello from the local scope. If we try to print message directly, we're going to get an error. And here it says the name message is not defined. And that's because look at where we defined message. Message has been assigned inside of the local scope of the message printer. Here, because I'm unindented, I'm trying to print message and therefore it doesn't work. I get this name error. If I change this line and I go back to my message printer call, you'll see it works no problem. That's kind of a problem if we want to use this message outside of our function. How do we get around that? Well, we use the return keyword. What return does is it allows you to get variables that have been assigned in a local scope back out to the global scope. It literally returns the value back to the global scope of the program. So here I have a little bit longer of a message, but it just says that this string was assigned to a local variable. I called that variable local message, and it will get passed to the global scope with this return keyword. So down here, I have message is assigned to the return value of the message creator function. And if I print out that, you can see down here, this string was assigned to a local variable that gets passed to the to the global scope. The last topic that we're going to talk about today is something called shadowing. Because we have different scopes, you can use the same label in different places in your program. Here, message is a global variable. But then here inside of the function that's called local scope example, we use the same label message, but now the value of this local variable message is hello from the local scope. If for some reason we need to use the global version of message inside, there is a global keyword. So here you can see that we've assigned this inside of the local scope example, and then we return it. So when we print it down here, we should get hello from the local scope. Here we said, okay, use the global message, return message. And so when I print it, I should get hello from the global scope. Now, just like we saw before, It's not necessary to do this in this particular case. If we run it without the global keyword, it will work the same, but it's good to know that this exists in Python. Occasionally, there will be times where you need to use the global variable, and that global keyword exists in that case. Good luck on today's bite.